Muskegon, Michigan, in the years after the Civil War, a lumber town of sawdust and river mist, where fortunes were measured in board feet of white pine. It was not a place that produced men who mapped the heavens, and yet, in 1872, one was born here. Heber Doust Curtis arrived into a modest household on the Michigan shore. The great forests were already thinning, the boom beginning to fade. He grew up among working people in a town that looked toward commerce, not the cosmos. As a young man, Curtis showed no early hunger for the stars. His passion was language, Latin, Greek, the ancient tongues. He trained as a classicist, and by his 20s he was teaching the dead languages at a small college far from any observatory. Then came an accident of fate. At Napa College in California, the school owned a small telescope, neglected and gathering dust. Curtis, the Latin teacher, was asked to look after it. He put his eye to the lens, and something ancient in him woke. The classicist became a convert. He traded declensions for declinations, grammar for gravity. In middle life, when most men settle, Heber Curtis began again, hurling himself into astronomy with the discipline of a scholar who had already mastered one impossible subject. He earned his doctorate, and in time, a post at the Lick Observatory, high on Mount Hamilton. There, night after night, he photographed the faint smudges of light that astronomers called nebulae, the great puzzle of the age. What were they? Nearby clouds of gas, or something far stranger? The spiral nebulae haunted him, delicate whirlpools of light. They seemed to spin in the dark. Curtis studied their forms, their faint stars, the sudden flares that erupted within them. Slowly, he formed a heretical conviction: they were not clouds within our galaxy at all. They were, he believed, island universes, entire galaxies like our own Milky Way, unthinkably distant, scattered across an ocean of space, so vast the mind recoiled from it. If he was right, the universe was not a single realm of stars. It was countless galaxies, adrift in the deep. But Curtis was an outsider in the closed world of elite astronomy, a self-taught latecomer from a Michigan mill town without the pedigree of the great Eastern institutions. His ideas met resistance, and one rival, in particular, would make his life a long argument. His name was Harlow Shapley, young, brilliant, ambitious, and utterly certain of the opposite view. Shapley believed the Milky Way was the whole of creation, that the spiral nebulae were merely nearby, minor things. He held Curtis's grand cosmos to be a fantasy, and he did not hide his scorn. For years the two men circled each other in print and correspondence. Shapley, rising fast, mocked the older man's conclusions as the errors of an amateur. Curtis, patient and stubborn, marshaled his photographs and his measurements, refusing to yield to the tide of fashionable opinion. The clash came to a head on the 26th of April, 1920. In the Marble Hall of the Smithsonian in Washington, the two astronomers met face to face before the assembled elite. History would call it the Great Debate, the scale of the universe itself, argued in a single evening. Shapley spoke first, careful and measured, keeping his cosmos small and safe. Then Curtis rose. The old classicist marshaled his evidence like a lawyer, precise and unhurried, the novae, the dust lanes, the sheer faintness of the spirals demanding a distance almost beyond imagining. No winner was crowned that night. Both men left believing they had prevailed. But Curtis had planted his flag on the far shore of the universe and made the case that the cosmos was immeasurably larger than anyone dared claim. Vindication came a few years later from a telescope Curtis never commanded. Edwin Hubble, peering into the Andromeda Nebula, found a single pulsing star and measured its distance. It lay far beyond the Milky Way. The island universes were real. Curtis had been right. The universe swelled overnight into billions of galaxies, yet the triumph belonged, in the record books, to younger men. Curtis, the Muskegon boy who had seen it first, received a quieter share of the glory, the underdog who had glimpsed the truth before the proof arrived. Through it all, he labored under the weight of failing health, his eyes and his body worn by decades of cold nights at the eyepiece. He moved on to direct observatories, to teach, to build, always working, even as the strength drained from him. Heber Doust Curtis died in 1942, 70 years after his birth, beside Lake Michigan. He had crossed from Latin verbs to the outer galaxies, from a fadding lumber town to the frontier of all-knowing. Today his name is faint, a footnote beside the giants, but every image of a distant galaxy carries his fingerprint, the certainty of a self-made man who looked into a lumbertown telescope and refused to believe the universe was small. From Muskegon, he measured the sky and found it endless.